Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our weekly lockdown conversations here live on the ADCI page. Hello to you all out there in all the different parts of the country, wherever you are, and I hope you're all keeping well and I hope you're all keeping safe and looking after yourselves during these very, very strange times. This is probably one of the strangest weeks that any of the drama people will have out there, because it would normally be a hive of activity with festivals opening this week now, left, right and centre. So look, we're thinking of you all out there, and it's good to have you on watching with us tonight. You know the usual story, folks. Give us a comment there in the comments. Tell us where you're from, what festival you're from, what group you're from, whatever it is, whatever part of the country you're watching in from tonight. Also, folks, anyone that missed anything on the lockdown conversations, they are available on our YouTube channel, Amateur Drama Council of Ireland YouTube channel, and you can watch back any of the conversations that we have already had over the last 10 weeks. Okay, folks, so moving on to tonight, it's my great pleasure to welcome the Treasurer of the ADCI, the Director of Roscommon Drama Group, and also committee member on Roscommon Drama Festival, Mary Cox. Very welcome to the conversations.
Good evening, Paddy, and it's lovely to be here. And I'd like to thank you and the ADCI for affording me the opportunity to have my hour in the sun. I think it's a wonderful series enjoyed by many, many people, and it's just great because we're all lacking the drama at the moment. And it's just given us that. I said the other day to somebody, well, it's like the Sunday game, but we don't have Sunday game anymore on a Sunday night. So now we have lockdown night, and that's the highlight of the week, Paddy. So well done, and thank you for having me in the hot seat.
And not at all, Mary. It's great to have you. And as I call it, the drama fix for the week to keep us going and keep us ticking over. As I said there in the introduction, Mary, would normally be in the height of drama festivals this week. I think the most festivals open this week. Very, very, very strange times for the organisation, the whole amateur drama movement across the country. We'll come back to that later on. But I suppose to start tonight, the way I start every week, Mary, how did you become involved in amateur drama, or who in amateur drama came looking for you?
Well, Paddy, when I was a teenager in a short skirt, Roscommon Drama Festival was going extremely well in Roscommon town. Now, my dad, Lord Roscommon, was a member of the Hyde Park Development Fund Committee, and they ran bingo every Sunday night. So, of course, the bingo and the drama had to come to a little compromise because both wanted their agendas. But the compromise was, Paddy, that each committee member would, from the Hyde Park Committee, would get a complimentary ticket to the Sunday night show at the festival. And my dad, in all his sincerity, gave me the complimentary ticket. Now, Paddy, I don't know, did he ever realise what he was giving me? Because that was my key into amateur drama, which I have followed and loved ever since, Paddy. So it was a great little ticket. And well done.
It was a ticket for the rest of your life. And when did the amateur drama group begin in Roscommon, Mary?
The Roscommon Drama Group was founded in 1982, Paddy, and the first production that they did was Freedom of the City. The Chastity was first, Paddy, and then they did Freedom of the City.
Okay.
And my first involvement with the drama group was when I played Jane in Canaries, the lovely flamboyant partner swapping Jane, lovely person. And I think really that when I didn't run for Hyde after being involved in the first production, because to say that we got it wrong on the opening night, we were playing the show for 3 nights and it just went a little bit off script, particularly in the first half. So we battled our way, Paddy, through the first half. Interval came and we were chatting, we were having the tea and all that goes with it, but we forgot to tell Contessa that the show was restarting. So we restarted the show in about 10 minutes. In comes the poor Contessa, climbing in over the balcony. Now, you must remember, Paddy, Canaries is set 3 stories up in a bar in Grand Canaria, and the poor old Contessa, she struggled her way up along the downpipe and in over the balcony. So that was my introduction. On the same night, Hans walked on stage, the psychotherapist, and he came in at the right time, and he did everything right, except we had gone so far off script that he had nothing to say. So we polished off the show as best we could that night, opening night, and the director said to us afterwards, well, that was a night to remember. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to give you the next 2 nights off now. We thought, okay. But we got together, we got the ducks in a row, and we ran away the next 2 nights, Paddy, with Canaries. So much so that we brought it back again a couple of years ago. Now, remember, Paddy, I played Jane the first time. The second time I was cast as Contessa. Little mess there, Paddy, someplace along the way, I think.
Food for thought there, Mary.
Food for thought there, Paddy, but we managed. We did it again, and we did a great show.
I'm sure.
I suppose my favourite parts were Mina in Sive, Celie in Many Women of 20, and probably Maggie Butler in The Field was a huge part for me as well. So it was a lovely introduction to drama, and I've always enjoyed my drama with the Roscommon Drama Group.
And 3 or 4 very popular plays there that you were in as well.
Great plays, Paddy. There was great substance in it, and there were crowd pleasers, you know. We always would sell out our shows in Roscommon, but I think when you put on a really good show like The Field, or, you know, of course they want comedy as well, Paddy, you know, and it's nice to bring in a bit of comedy. So yeah, good plays, good audience as always with Roscommon Drama Group. It's a huge success.
Great stuff, great stuff. So, Mary, the festival then, the Roscommon Drama Festival, it started early on, but then it stopped for a few years, and then it was relaunched.
It did, Paddy, yeah. Roscommon Drama Festival started in 1980, Paddy, and it ran very successfully for 21 years. I suppose my highlights of my memories of the festival were probably when Clare Morris Drama Group won with The Black Stranger, and they subsequently went on and won the All-Ireland final. I also remember wonderful plays like Arsenic Under Lace, Shower On, Mother Courage and Her Children, all of those. They were just fantastic plays, Paddy. Now, at the time, the festival was hosted in Roscommon Cinema, which is on Castle Street in Roscommon town. Now, Joan Alley, who was on the original committee and is still on our current festival committee, a hard worker, really a book of history, great lad, Joe, would tell us many, many stories about all the things that went on. But he always says that because of the location of the cinema and the venue for the festival in Castle Street, every door was knocked on for a prop. A lot of groups didn't bring, Paddy, a lot of the bigger props at that time, maybe. So there'd be settees borrowed, there'd be armchairs, there'd be televisions, there'd be kitchen tables and chairs borrowed. And everything was brought into the theatre and used on stage by visiting groups, which was great. And it created great interest in the town, Paddy, as well. It got the festival out there. And like they would have been having about 600 people, Paddy, to the festival at that time, and often having to put down extra seats. So it was a huge success. Until, unfortunately, we lost our venue 21 years later in 1981 when they put the venue up for sale. Okay. But there was great. Joe would tell you about, I think Imelda McDonough alluded to it when Strand players did Marat Sade and they were in Roscommon, and Joe said he was never more petrified selling a book or raffle tickets as he was going across the front row of the theatre that night, because he didn't know what was going to come off stage or something. As you know, in Marat Sade, all the cast were on stage from the very, very beginning and even before pre-curtain. So Joe had to run off and try and sell the raffle tickets, and that was a moment, he said, that he remembers forever and ever. There was great groups indeed. Gary Hines came to Roscommon Drama Festival originally with UCG, where they produced Elizabeth I, and the late Patrick Connaughton performed in that show as well. So that's a huge link to today's festival as well.
Yeah, I'm jumping away. I was jumping a wee. Sorry, Mary, I was jumping a wee bit ahead of myself there. Just come back to the drama group. When did you start directing? Or what was your first direct for Roscommon Drama Group?
Well, I started directing, Paddy, actually locally here in Crockery, where I directed Many Women of 20, which was a show of music, song and dance, and a little bit of drama.
Yeah.
And then there were all local people that were involved in that. And then again in the crockery, I produced My Wife's Family, which is a rip-roaring comedy. And we entered the Connacht Cup, Paddy. The Connacht Cup, of course, was a big success for the area of Connacht. And I remember the wonderful Hubert McMorrow coming down to adjudicate us. And sure, we thought we were the bee's knees, Paddy. But Hubert, of course, being the utter gentleman that he is, said to us, do you know, it'd be handy if you lit the stage, Mary, rather than over the stage. So as you know, Paddy, lights have always been an issue with me, technical things I'm not strong on, but Hubert in his nicest of ways told us, do you know what, girl, light the stage. So that was a great lesson. But we won lots of cups as well, and lots of awards of the Connacht Cup as well. So to move on, my first play that I produced with Roscommon Drama Group was Cash on Delivery, a rip-roaring comedy by Ray Cooney and John Chapman. And that went down a huge success in 1992. And then I kind of opted in and out of directing in Roscommon Drama Group and acting with them. And I also, in the meantime, directing and acting in the crockery drama as well. And I also did shows involving children. I put on 59 children in one show in the crockery where they sang and danced and left around the place. And that was a nightmare, but a big success as well. And then my next show to direct with Roscommon Drama Group, Paddy, was a show called But Why Bump Off Barnaby?
Right.
It was a murder mystery, but why bump off Barnaby? So that was grand. And at the time, the parish priest used to announce the plays that were happening in the Arts Centre at Mass the previous weekend. But he seemed to have trouble with bump off. He didn't know what we were going to do to poor Barnaby.
Right.
And he refused to announce the name of the play off the pulpit. So that was an experience. And I also directed Neil Simon's Rumours in Roscommon Drama Group as well. And that was a huge success. That was a challenge, I suppose, in the fact that there's an upstairs in it.
Yeah.
And this was, a difficult set, but it was a wonderful perception to see an upstairs because the theatre in Roscommon the stage is big in it, there's lots of space, the high stage, and it was a spectacle really to see how nice it was. And Paddy, in that production, I put on 17 people on stage. I added in a few extra people just to give people the buzz. When you're going into your local theatre, your community theatre, Paddy, people like to see people on stage. And I suppose I was getting a bit of a success with directing, and people were saying, look, it'll be good. And indeed it was. And it wasn't because I was directing, but it was just that it was superb. And that, I suppose, gave me the itch then to develop eventually, Paddy, into the one-act circuit. So I've also dabbled, Paddy, which is interesting, I suppose. A few years ago, was given the opportunity to do a little bit of drama therapy. Now, I work in an organisation that supports people with disability. And it was nice to be able to bring drama to those people using the Sesame approach. Now, the Sesame approach involves movement and touch with a non-invasive and non-verbal approach. And I involved and directed 3 little shows with them, with transition year students, basically using mime and movement and dance and that. And they were a big success, and they happened in Roscommon town because we've got quite a busy organisation which supports people with disability. And that was nice to get a chance to direct from a different perspective, but people that are challenged. And because I worked there, I suppose it meant a lot to me, but they did great, and the transition year students were terrific. So directing has always been a wonderful interest of mine, and be good or bad, it has worked out.
And I'm sure very rewarding in that case, Mary. Extremely.
It was very rewarding. And actually at the time, Paddy, we had 1 or 2 adjudicators over. I did it for a couple of years, obviously, and the adjudicators came down and supported me to run a workshop in the centres. So that was nice as well. Drama is very inclusive, Paddy. Anybody can partake in drama, really and truly. It's up to ourselves to do it and to believe that we can do it. Even people, that are slightly challenged. I mean, we're all challenged in different ways, but the people that I work are, are intellectually challenged. And it was nice that they enjoyed it. And, I remember one, now a bit off the cuff, I remember one little girl, we had just finished the production and somebody said, well, what do you think of that shite? Excuse me for that one, Paddy, but I had to put it in.
Honestly, yeah. Oh, yeah, you can't.
I suppose it probably was. But
you can't beat the honesty of a kid.
The honesty, yeah, the honesty.
Mary, you have a fantastic venue in the Arts Centre down in Roscommon. You're very lucky, I suppose, the same way as we are up here with the Rammer, and it's only over the road and where I work. But the Arts Centre is a fantastic venue and great staff there and all that. But was the Arts Centre coming into town, was that a kind of the setting up of the relaunching of the festival again?
It was huge, Paddy. Because the venue where we had been holding our festival was up for sale and sold, we didn't have a venue. So it was hugely important. We did look around, and the committee did look around for different venues, but then in 2006, Paddy, sorry, Joan Alley, again being the driving force, called a meeting of the public with an interest of trying to set up the drama festival. And it was a huge response, and I actually joined it, and Con Connolly actually joined it as well. Con, from the One Act Circuit. Yeah. Other people, Joan, obviously drove it forward as well. So when the Arts Centre was up and running, they very, very, very much came on board with our festival. And Alfred and Steve and those really, really bought into it and supported us hugely. So we had our first festival there in 2006, and I went in as chairperson in 2007, and I remained there until 2014. Well, they probably threw me out eventually, but yeah. And I enjoyed being chair and working with people in the Arts Centre and welcoming people to the Arts Centre, because as you said, Paddy, it is a beautiful venue, and the beauty of it is, I think you can really nearly drive onto the stage. So it is
venue and fabulous venue, and I've been at your festival many times, and you have a fabulous audience, which is great, and it's credit to your festival and your festival committee and all the sponsors. You'd be in the middle of things now, Mary, as normal. This would be your week, wouldn't it? This would normally be Roscommon Drama Festival's week.
It would indeed, Paddy. I suppose tonight is kind of bittersweet for me, because this night last year we pulled our festival, as did everybody, I suppose, in Ireland. It was the final. We didn't actually get to perform. The groups didn't. We had the Knox from your own county coming down to perform for us, and we had 2 more nights to go. We had Dara Smith again from your own county, who did a fantastic job adjudicating, and we were having a very, very, very successful festival. I suppose for the couple of years previous, perhaps numbers did drop a little bit, but I think that happened nationally. These things happen, but numbers were well up last year, and we were going to bomb. But look, as things happened and outside of our control, but it can come back, Paddy. It will come back, and it'll be a challenge, but it will come. We'll talk about that again. It will come back.
We will get stronger.
We will.
I suppose the success of your festival committee, Mary, is probably highlighted that when you run the One Act finals, the All Ireland finals in 2013, it was a massive event, and it had to be a great sense of achievement for the committee of Roscommon Drama Festival to hold an All Ireland event.
Paddy, it was massive. We don't hold a One Act festival. We only hold a 3-act festival. So we applied to the NEC for the running of the One Act festival. And I suppose initially when it was granted to us, we probably were a little bit apprehensive, a bit anxious. Innis had it the previous year, and they were a great help. Bernie Harton and those were a fantastic help to us in knowing, giving the ropes of how to do things. And so we really had, so we had Jeff O'Keefe's adjudication, and he was fantastic. We had brilliant plays. They all, lovely plays. We were sold out, of course, like none of that. And the venue was fantastic. So I suppose initially, Paddy, we said, look, this is an All-Ireland final. Let's make it one to remember.
Mhm.
So we decided that everything was going to be done to the very best of what we could do. And the committee joined together and really worked excessively hard to get there. We were lucky in the fact that we also worked at it, the fact that the businesses bought into it very much, Paddy. We went down to each shop and business within the town and explained to them what was happening and how important it was to us, and that there would be people coming from all over the country to participate and to support and to be at the One Act finals, and the businesses in turn bought into us. And that we asked them to, to converse with the people that came to the festival, and indeed they did. We introduced badges, Paddy, that everybody had. I know you very fondly have one as well. And that, I think, gave a sense of identity to people at the festival. And it also, we gave them to the shopkeepers as well, and they wore them. And that linked, between the festival and the patrons and that. And so it was really good that way. But to me, I suppose, one of the fond memories I would have is we decided that we would have a bus to bring the patrons from their accommodation. I think, Paddy, you might have been on it.
Once or twice, Mary, yeah.
And collect the patrons from their accommodation and bring them to the theatre, and after the theatre, bring them to the festival club, which was held in Hannons. And Friday night, Saturday night and Sunday night, in the early hours of the morning, this bus went down the town in Roscommon, taking that as a rural town. And people were saying, what is going on? Look at the bus going down the town in the middle of the night. People all dressed beautifully, singing their heads off. Where are they going? What are they doing? So the One Act finals was a live night and day, Paddy. It was a big success, and we have great memories of it. And hopefully in the not too distant future we'll have it again, Paddy. It's a great weekend. It buys into it for the whole weekend, Paddy, and they come to town or wherever it is for the weekend, and everybody is just, it's a lovely weekend. It's a huge success for us, and we're very proud of it.
Yeah, it was a fantastic weekend, and the theatre and everything. But I was in Hannons maybe about 5 years later. I think I was in Roscommon on tour with Live and Dread, helping them out. And when I went in the door, the barman called me by my name. So it must have been a good enough weekend.
Or else he made such an impression he didn't forget you.
Yeah. Mary, I suppose hosting the One Act finals and being involved in the organisation, was that probably the petrol that lit the fire for you to bring Roscommon Drama Group out on the circuit? Would that have been a big push in you going out on the circuit as a group?
Yes, Paddy. I suppose it was a combination of things really that brought me out. Roscommon Drama Group did participate once before in the 3-Act festival, where they went out with Mall way back. I think it was in 1985. Now, at the time, adjudicators held a different cloth to what they were nowadays, and they were probably a little bit more strict, or a little bit more. So the group didn't go back out. But that was always something I regretted, because I was, as I said earlier, was involved as being a prompter at that time. So eventually I had felt I had done a lot of directing, and I had done lots of different aspects of directing. And I decided that through rumours, I would cast as many people and get as many people involved in the production as I possibly could. Now, some of the aging mightn't have been perfect and all of that, but it got people involved, and it got me to see, what roles I could put different people into and things like that. So we had our festival, which we knew the runnings of the 3-Act festival, and we had great supports, Paddy. And I suppose I had attended summer school in Limerick 2 years, and of course the talk down there is really all about the One Act circuit and the One Act circuit, and it's a wonderful education to get. And you'll be talking to all the people that are involved in the One Act circuit there, as well as the 3-Act. But that gave me the confidence, and the tutors that I attended gave me the confidence to bring the group forward as a director. So our first production on the One Act circuit was Touching Tomorrow. Beautiful play by Gillian Plowman. Now, I suppose in hindsight, Paddy, I would say that probably was a difficult piece, because as some of my close friends said, there was a lot of scenes in it, which doesn't really allude to being a really spectacular festival play. But my idea was get as many people out there as you possibly can and get them involved and give them an interest in participating on the one act. And while we won a few awards, it probably wasn't, well, it wasn't, as it happened, turned out, one of our more successful productions as regards awards, but it made a success of Touching Tomorrow for us because the people that were involved in it loved it, and they loved being involved in the one act circus. And that to me was the success, and that's what I strove for in my first year out, Paddy.
Good woman.
I followed it, I suppose.
You didn't let the grass go. You didn't let the grass go under your feet. You were back the following year, back out again with Stanley Parker.
I was, Paddy. Another Gillian Plowman play. I think I might have something for Gillian Plowman. I just like her writing. I went out to Stanley Parker's, which is a play about a gay couple, beautiful piece. No, we did very, very well, and I never will forget the first win that I got as a director. We cleaned the boards in Doonbeg, and that was a huge achievement. That meant an awful lot to me. And we did extremely well on the circuit with the Stanley Parkers, so much so, Paddy, that another year we would have actually qualified. We had got so many points, but we were just the last post. But in turn, I suppose that gave me the itch again and sent me out again the following year. And some people had said to me, you know, get a good play that's well written by a good author. Now, I like Tennessee Williams's writing, and I think he's got an intriguing life story, Paddy, and I just like 37 Wagons Full of Cotton. And I said, you know, here goes, I've got the cast, I can do this, we can do this. Yes, it's a challenging piece. It is a very challenging piece, but it was the piece that we just liked and I felt confident as a director doing. And we got to Rossmore, which I suppose the rest is history, Paddy. We loved it. It was its challenge. It's, you know, it was great. And getting to Rossmore was, so the third year out to get final was a huge bonus. We were delighted. Delighted.
But I suppose credit what credit's due. I talked with Lurleen and a few different directors on here and different conversations, Mary. It was extremely well cast.
It was, yes, it was. Now, Connolly and Tom O'Hoolihan had been in the play the previous year at Stanley Parker's, so they had a good bit of experience. And Bernie Mark, come on. Now, Bernie isn't that awful long actually with Roscommon Drama Group, but I think it would be fair to say that Bernie won Best Actress probably in almost 90% of the festivals that we went to.
Yeah.
For the first time out in the circuit, it was a huge achievement, and that will show you that it was cast right. Bernie was ideal for the part of Flora. She was ideal, and the two lads, I suppose, have the experience. They're both quite accomplished actors, and could do their two parts. Tom, of course, the crook in everything, you know, and he was in 27 Wagons as well. So, but Paddy, it's you know, it's very important as a director to work with a team that you believe in.
Yeah.
And I believed in that team. Well, I believed in my Touching Tomorrow team just as much, or any play I ever directed. But when you're looking to qualify to the All-Ireland final, it's difficult, and you really must push it, and you really must just say, this is what I'm doing, and I believe, and
yeah,
you know.
I had seen Tom and Con act before in Stanley Parker's the year before, and I knew how capable they were, but I have to say, when I seen Bernie and Rossmore, she was really, really strong. Really. I couldn't believe that it was her first time on the circuit. I thought you'd poached her from Glenamaddy or something. No, she was fantastic. She was a credit to you. It must have meant an awful lot to the group, Mary. Owen being your third year out on the circuit, like I know groups that are on the circuit 10 and 12 years and never qualify for finals. So to qualify for finals in your third year had to mean and I know there was a big crowd of you down there in Rossmore. I had a couple of cups of tea with you over the weekend, and like it was really, it must have meant an awful lot to the group. It
meant an awful lot to us, Paddy. Con, of course, is a Corkman, so it was lovely for him to get to Cork in the finals. I don't think we can really realise how much getting to a final means, and I suppose Kilmeen Drama Group had come to Roscommon Drama Festival for many a year, and we have built up a great relationship with them. So it was lovely to get to Rossmore, and you know, when you went in the door, Paddy, of Rossmore, and you met them, and the friendship that was extended, and the work that they did to make you comfortable and welcome and to encourage you, was really, really huge. But Paddy, you know, success doesn't come easy, and I know we're new kids on the block, and we are very proud of what we have achieved. But you know, I think we were prepared to listen to what, and to use context, Paddy. You mentioned TJ. He'd be a great, you know, people should be looking at people that have already accomplished and achieved on, and don't be afraid to ask for their advice and their support. Like we transformed the Stanley Parkers, Paddy, by simply having a conversation with Sally Stevens. We had dressed the Stanley Parker session traditionally, but Sally said to us, what's the play about? What's the main thing of the play? And the play was about lights. Stanley it was his hobby to make light fittings and light shades and that. So she said, well, cover the stage in lights. So up I went to IKEA, and I came home with a bootload of lights. So my point being, Paddy, be prepared to listen. You know, success doesn't come easy, and I'm only new at it and have just dabbled a little bit in success, but dying to go forward again when the opportunity arises. It means so much to a group to be successful. It makes you strong within yourselves. It coerces the whole group. You go back to the group with what you've learned. You know, people will share their information if they feel that you listen. And the success really is born from listening to what adjudicators say. As somebody said to me, you know, if an adjudicator says something to you once, listen to it. If they say it to you twice, remember it. If they say it to you a third time, or you hear it a third time, go and do it. So that's what we learned. That's what means so much to us. We know those little tricks now. Listen to what people are saying. And the friendships that you make, including yourself, Paddy, the support that you give us, or anybody of the groups that have been anywhere in festivals before, that makes success, and that makes friendship. And that's really very important, because, you know, success is fine, but you need a team with you. And that's what we were able to achieve. And success is about creating that team as well.
Yeah, so to a new director that's sitting out there, Mary, thinking about should they go in the one acts, what would you say to them?
I would say 100%, Paddy, 100%. Somebody said to me initially, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So that's probably the first thing that you have to realise. You mightn't get there in the first shot. We didn't, but we got there. We kept at it, Paddy, and we got there eventually. And you know, you've got to adapt and you've got to learn. And as I say, you've got to listen. I think listen to people that in the audiences, Paddy, they're great critics as well. They've great tips for you. So yeah, any new director or anybody that is thinking about going on any circuit should do it, definitely. And I think as well, you know, I think the one act is the baby of the three act. You know, if you can go and do the one act and stick at it, it's the stepping stone for the three act, which I suppose, you know, mightn't be for everybody, but it's a huge thing to be able to say that you're successful in one act or three act. So definitely, yeah, 100%, Paddy, get out there. But I do think that, you know, a stepping stone to getting out there for a group is going to the DLI Summer School in Limerick. That's massive. You know, I went to it twice. The first time I went to Thomas Conway and he was doing a course in directing. The second time I went to Vincent O'Neill. Now, they're both very different tutors, but I think they gave me the confidence to direct. And they gave me little tips that I could learn. And what I learned in summer school as well was that, you know, other players and other directors are there with you, and they're doing the same exercises you are in the class. And they're making a speaking each of themselves as you are. So you're on a level, and it's a great week. Like, you're immersed in drama, Paddy, from the minute that you walk in the door, the minute you register, until the minute that you leave. And that definitely was the little catapult for me. Now, having said that, I would say with the summer school, Paddy, there is a health warning on it. The liver, definitely. You know,
Yeah.
test for the liver if it can withstand, if the liver can withstand summer school. But it definitely is a tool that I would very much have used to be a director, 100%. So I think that if groups are looking to go out on the one act circuit, I think summer school is a good stepping stone, and I think the one act is a good stepping stone for the 3 act festivals.
Great. So they come highly recommended from both. Yeah. We were talking about festivals and plays, and I suppose now over all the years you've been involved in the festival in Roscommon, and then you get to go to other festivals where you know other festival committee members like myself and yourself, and you make friends and you venture off to other venues then when your own festival's not on. You would have seen some great shows out there on the circuit. Is there one or two that sticks out that you never forget, that, you know, maybe you didn't see it on the circuit, you might have seen it in professional theatre in Dublin, or you might have seen it in the Arts Centre as part of the programme, but is there one or two of them shows that you never forget? In
one word, Paddy, Echoes by Stanley Parker in Athlone. I never ever will forget that production. It just blew me away. I just was convinced, Paddy, from the very beginning. The characters were believable. I just bought into it, Paddy, immediately. I never will forget it. I never will forget the rhythm of the horse's hooves, the sound, you know, the fear that was instilled in all the audience members at that time. I only live about 10 to 15 minutes away from Athlone, but I thought I'd never get home that night. I didn't know. I was on my own.
Yeah.
Was I going to be blinded by a horse? Was a horse going to jump out in front of the car? What was going to happen, Paddy? I thought, oh my goodness. Another, I suppose, production that I will never forget would be Cats, when they did the Pillowman at the festival in Roscommon. Now, as we know, Mark McDonough is black. I didn't actually realise how black he was.
Yeah, comedy.
So, Cats had won our festival the previous year with All My Sons. And at the time I was chairperson. Now, sitting beside the parish priest at the Pillowman by Cats at Roscommon, and being the director of the festival in Roscommon isn't a recipe for success.
Oh, it's not really.
Oh, it's the floor. I never ever will forget it. You know, it was one of those nights I thought, could I go home now? Like, you know, but look, the priest was actually president of our festival, and he was a gentleman, and he didn't comment. You know, he was always very supportive of the festival. I never, they were the two, you know. I've great memories, Paddy, as well, from Roscommon Drama Group. I've great memories from the festival. You know, as I mentioned earlier, directing with the people with disability, that was massive. Drama creates memories, Paddy, and I've got lots. You know, and definitely Echoes. I know that year probably they were unlucky not to win, but you know, Judas Iscariot was there, Paddy, as well. Marvelous production by Marlon.
Amazing too. It's one of my favourites, you know.
Oh, Paddy. I also remember walking into the Arts Centre in Roscommon one day, Paddy, when Prosperous were bringing November to our festival, and I walked in and I saw the Oval Office being erected on the stage. Oh my gosh. It was just incredible. It was fabulous. And to think that the Oval Office was in the Arts Centre in Roscommon, it was just beautiful. Like the construction of it was just unreal.
Yeah, I remember the curtain opening in Athlone, and the audience just broke.
You know, everybody was just blown away by it. It was just fantastic. Yeah.
We talked earlier there about asking for advice and people involved in amateur drama, and as you were saying, when you were getting out on the road, one of the people that I would have got an awful lot of advice for when I was starting out to direct first was the late great Pat Cunningham, and Pat's very closely associated with Roscommon Drama Festival. You have an award there, the Pat Cunningham Award. What was Pat's association with Roscommon, Mary?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Paddy, because we're very, very proud of Pat Cunningham. Pat was actually born in Crockery, which is a village that I live in now.
All right, okay.
Now, Pat probably not a lot of people know, Pat was talented in many, many, many ways. Not alone was he a great dramatist, but he was also a great singer. He was a figure dancer as well, would you believe?
Yeah.
But way back now, when Pat was a gossoon, as they'd say, he was participating in score. Now, that was with St. Patrick's GA club at the time. And Pat went up and to participate in score at the local level here in the club. And he sang Noreen Vaughan beautifully, absolutely fabulous. Now, score was in its infancy here in St. Patrick's, which is now St. Dominic's at the time. And it was discovered that in order to qualify Pat as a winner of the county final, which he deservedly did, and get him into Connacht, they had to be a group presentation as well. So Pat's two sisters went down the road to a farmer, borrowed a bucket from him. They put a hole in the bucket, and they went back and they did a live production of a novelty act of the hole in the bucket. So that's how closely associated Patrick is with Crockery.
Wow.
He was always been a stalwart within Bunclody, and indeed previously in Enniscorthy. So one evening I happened to be in the village and I met Patrick, and I had heard about the great successes that Enniscorthy and Bunclody had under Pat's direction and that. So anyway, over a pint, we agreed that Pat and Bunclody would travel to Roscommon next year and perform, and indeed they did. And I remember Pat ringing me one evening and saying, "It's grand now, but Elaine Murphy is playing the part of the woman in the wake, and there's a bed scene." But there was a bed scene, but it won the festival, and it was really, really superb. Mm-hmm. And it went on to Athlone as well. And then Pat came back the following year, and he acted as Willie Noman in Death of a Salesman.
Yeah.
And he came back the following year and directed with the May, and he also brought the Bog of Cats. You probably remember the production with Gail Jordan in it. Just fantastic stuff. Unfortunately, as we know, Pat met an untimely and too early of a death. And in 2014, Bunclody and Rory Kensler asked, would we like if they sponsored an award on behalf of Patrick's memory and the Cunningham family. And to this day, that award is very precious to us. It's awarded to the group for a magic moment in drama at our festival. And the first time it was won, it was actually won by Thurles Drama Group for The Kiss in A View from the Bridge. And it has been presented, and Bunclody have always participated in our festival since Pat's time. So Patrick really, was an absolute genius as regards drama, and as opposed as was he could sing at the festival club very well as well afterwards. So
and the amateur drama organization is probably an awful lot stronger because of Pat Connaughton, and he's fondly remembered all over the country. Mary, your job treasurer ADCI, not an awful lot happened for us at the minute, but we were working hard earlier on last September, August and September, trying to come up with maybe some ideas of alternative competition. Unfortunately, guidelines didn't let that happen. But there's a lot of great work being done there on the NEC.
There is a huge amount of work, Paddy. I was elected in 2018, I think it was, as treasurer of the ADCI, and I was delighted to get the support of the festivals to elect me into the position. And up to then, I had never been on the NEC. I'm secretary in Connacht branch of the ADCI, all right, but I had never been involved in the NEC. And it was only since that I actually realised all the work that we do. And this year has been a challenge on account of the pandemic, really, as you know yourself, Paddy, there was a serious amount of work and a serious amount of hours put in trying to come up with an alternative. I suppose the pandemic, Paddy, unfortunately is with us to stay, I think, for the moment, and it has thwarted all of our plans. But I suppose, Paddy, we've got to look at it and maybe take it as an opportunity to say, look at, let's see where we can improve. What are these challenges? How can we make them into opportunities? And what can we do as an executive committee to support our festivals to move forward? What can we actually do? Now, personally, I think that the pandemic is going to probably be with us for quite a while. And I would honestly really hope, Paddy, that the One Act festivals might get away this year. Now, I think if they do, we will look at a different format. You know, it may be that we have to introduce season tickets into festivals whereby the same people sit in the seat each night, and that they are, you know, socially distanced, and that we may have to maybe regionalize 3-act festivals and look at, you know, traveling adjudicators. But we have to look at all those things, Paddy, as an executive committee, and see what can we pull out of this to make it positive, to make it work. You know, we can't just say, oh, let's just sit back and see, because that's not going to work. So I think that it's up to each festival to come together and to say, look, you know, what can we do? The ADCI are working away there, but really, what can we can't plan, we don't have an outcome. So we've got to make outcomes, Paddy. And I think that festivals, you know, don't be afraid to contact our PRO, Lorna McAvoy. Lorna has gone in recently as PRO to the ADCI, and she's very open and very helpful. And she has done, as you know, Paddy, a lot of work on the committee. And, you know, let's be proactive, Paddy, and say, yes, there's plenty of things with us for a long time to come yet, but let's see, what can we do? And how can we make this work going forward if we have to change? And I think the ADCI, as we know this year, Paddy, we did work for hours on end on Zoom, and we were almost ready to announce what we were going to do. And restrictions were, you know, deepened, and we became more restricted, and more people were dying, and so we had to just say, look, this isn't going to work. But that's not to say, Paddy, that it's not going to work going forward. So let's see, hopefully our vaccinations will, you know, the government will get a better handle on the vaccinations, and we may be able to look, please God, at running the One Act Festival, you know, maybe later in the year, or change the date, or come up with some sort of a solution that will get us back into Dublin. We miss it terribly, Paddy, in our lives. You know, it's a huge loss. We miss the friendships of the people that we meet in the circuit. We miss all the festivals that, as you said earlier, we travel to, where we love meeting the people, you know. So we're missing an awful lot, but everything is possible, Paddy. It can all be fixed. We can move forward.
We can, and hopefully we will, and hopefully maybe this time next year we'll be in the height of the 3 acts once again, and it'll be safe to do so. Mary Cox, thank you so much for coming on to Lockdown Conversations. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you, and I really appreciate you coming on with us there tonight.
Thanks, Paddy. My only I suppose relief valve is I was terrified you might come up with a Graham Norton chair and eject me all of a shot.
No, I was on to Sean earlier and he wasn't on for that, so we had to scrap.
I was wondering what he was doing with the chairs all day. He was doing something with the legs of the chairs all day. What was that?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mary.
It's been my pleasure.
Folks,
It's been a pleasure, Paddy.
Thanks, Mary. Just a couple of things, folks. Coming up in the next week, don't forget Scariff Bay Radio in conjunction with Clare Drama Festival. The fantastic radio plays are on again this weekend. Tune into Scariff Bay Radio and have a listen. We had some fabulous entertainment last weekend, and well done to Scariff Bay Radio and Tom Hanley and all the team down there that's working so hard on this alternative, the radio play competition. So well done to them. Tune in Saturday night, 8 o'clock to Scariff Bay Radio. You can get it on the internet and have a listen into the fabulous plays. Okay, folks, that's it for Lockdown Conversations this weekend, or this week. Next week, we head to Wexford, where we have years and years and years of amateur drama experience from the great Michael Stafford. So we look forward to having the chat with Michael next week. That's it, folks. That was Mary Cox from Roscommon. I'm Paddy Farley. That's it for Lockdown Conversations. We'll see you all next Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Stay safe, and we'll chat to you then.